Hey guys, so this is part two of our Meta Facebook course campaign, not campaign, sorry, course. So I'm actually attaching a pixel connecting video that should be on this part two as well, either right before or right after this, but it is going to be on there. I haven't obviously fully set it up, but it's going to either be right before or right after. That is one way to do it with the coding. There is another way, which I will show you here at the end, but essentially I'm going to move over here. So let's talk about, so we talked about how to create a campaign, how to create custom and lookalike audiences, how to optimize picture sizing. Today, or right now, I want to talk about how to read the data, KPIs, retargeting ads, and scaling ads. So let's go one at a time. So let's start with how to read data, KPIs. What the heck does all this mean? This is so confusing and I don't understand it. Well, let's start with CPMs, right? The average cost for 1,000 impressions. Okay, well, what does it mean? So essentially what this is doing, it's comparing our cost per impression to the rest of the advertisers on Facebook, right? So if we have a CPM of $30, that means it's pretty expensive to run ads for us. We're not getting a lot of buzz. If we have a $5 CPM, Facebook's favoring us. People are really liking our ads, and we're getting some really good numbers on what people are looking at, right? And so CPM, essentially average cost for 1,000 impressions. We want this to be minus fourth quarter. Typically, we want it to be under $10. In the beginning of advertising, it's going to be a little higher, again, because you're a new advertiser to the platform. Facebook is going to charge you more to advertise, essentially. That's just what's going to happen. Eventually, it's going to go down. Now, link clicks is self-explanatory. CPC, cost per click, right? How much does it cost for someone to click? Now, typically, we want this to be under $1, right? If we can get our cost per click under $1, we're golden. Now, what happens is, in the beginning, this is higher. Same reason the CPM is higher. But we want the CPC to be under $1 or at around, if it's $1.04, it's fine, right? We just don't want it to be $3 or $2.50, right? Click-through rate. Now, we want to look at CTR all. So when we're looking at CPC, we want to look at this. We don't want to look at this. Now, because we want to talk about how much is it costing for people to click the link, right? We're not concerned about how many people go to the Instagram. We want to know how many people are going to the website to purchase, right? That is our focus with conversion campaigns. We want them to purchase. Click the rate all, right? Now, typically what we want this to be is, and this is just one account, for example. So there's many I could go through, but I'm not going to because it's not necessary. I just want to talk about the KPIs. So click the rate. The percentage of impressions where a click has occurred outside the total number of impressions. Essentially, how many times are people clicking? How much are they going through? And we want this to be about 1.5 and above. If it's a 4, that means people are clicking. They're going to multiple places. They're really engaging with this. And essentially, if we click learn more here, right, we'll see how this is, how this is related what I said earlier. Let's look here at the difference between all the clicks and the link clicks, right? And so this is, it's not the most important thing in the world, but it is important. Click-through rate is really essentially, clicks to websites and app stores directly from, right? So if we have a URL, whereas, this is the traffic objection, right? If they click an image or a call to action, right? Where are they going? Essentially, in plain English terms, the more places they click, the better, right? If they're clicking our Instagram and our website and this and that, we want them to do that. That's a good thing. That's a thumbs up, right? And so essentially, that is what click-through rate means, is how much are they going through the ad, right? That is important. And so essentially, what's happening here is we want this to be over a 1.5. Now, let's talk a little bit about the retargeting ads. So what does that look like? Is there a special button? No, very simple. We're going to go to sales, manual, right? Just like we did with the part 1. And we're going to call this retargeting, right? Keep it simple. Now, for the audiences, I'm not sure why that happened, but whatever. For the audiences, very, very important. Now, we want to turn catalog off just for simplicity. If you have the shop, that's great. You can do that. But for now, let's keep it simple. Always going to be purchase, right? And now the difference here is going to be, unlike the last section, we're going to use custom audiences. Now, let's go to the custom section, and we want to go after people who've added a cart within 14 days. Now, typically, this is only for high volume stores, so I'm not going to actually do that right now. I'm going to do 60 days. So any person who has added to cart in the last 60 days is going to be targeted. End of story, period. And so what we're going to do is we're going to be able to go directly after those people. And so whatever ad we put in, right, the same structure as before, we are going to want to make sure that they are there and that they come up in terms of, hey, who's there and who are we going after, right? We're going after people who added a cart. Now for retargeting, typically we always want to do add to cart. We also want to label this, right? Custom audience is CA, lookalike is LLA, right? We want to label always because it's so important to understand what we're doing instead of having to check and guess and then we get something wrong and we think an audience performed, but it was actually a different audience, right? We don't want to deal with any of that ambiguity. We want to label what we are doing, okay? Now, in terms of retargeting, we typically want a lower budget on this. Why? Because it's a specific number of people, right? It's a group of people. Now, if we're just doing one ad set, we can do this ABO version, right? Where we're just doing, again, ad set budget optimization versus campaign. So we're gonna leave this on. I would say typically $10 is really all we need because why? Because it's a certain number of people. If this was a broad audience, then we can spend a lot. But if we have a group of, 50 people, that $10 is going to go pretty quickly. Versus if we have 5 million people, it's going to take a little longer to get to all of them. Think about it as you're at a shoe convention, right? I always love SneakerCon. And we have a pair of shoes. And we go around the room, right? We go around the room once. That's $10 a day. And everyone sees us. Okay, great. Now we go around the room a second time. Okay, people have seen it twice. Maybe we get a few more bites at the apple. Okay. Now imagine we go around 12 times. By the third, fifth time, people don't want to get the heck out of my face. I saw you already. Go away. I don't want your shoes, right? End of story. That would be if we spent $50 down this, right? We don't want to do that. Why? Because we're going around the room. This is a certain number of people. It is not ambiguous. It is not, oh, maybe there's others outside. No. This is people who added a cart in 60 days, done. End of story. Lookalikes, ambiguous, right? Ambiguous, right? Why? Because they look like the people who did the action. These are the people who actually did the action, right? I hope that makes sense. I hope that's clear. And so, and I apologize if I'm over explaining it. I just want to be so precise because this is so important. Because if we spend $50 a day on retargeting, it's not going to have the result that you think it's going to have, unless we're doing millions and millions in sales and we have millions of people who added a cart. That's a different conversation. But if you're doing under a million, please keep it below 10, maybe 15 if it's really cooking, and maybe if you have an 180 days or a 365 days. Again, I would never really recommend outside of 90 days for lookalikes. The lower the better. So if we can do 30 days, if we can do 14 days, great. If we have the data, wonderful. The lower the better. If we do 3 days, all right, that's a little extreme. I would say nothing below really 7 or 14 days. Again, that's only when we have an appropriate number of data. Usually if we're doing above 30K a month, then that's appropriate. But if it's under 30K a month in sales, really stick to the 30 and 60 days at that level. For retargeting, we only really want to run it for about a week or two. We don't want to go too long or too crazy. Why? That's going around the room 4, 5, 6 times, right? We don't want to do that. Once we get an offer out there and we get it, all right, cool, moving on. Once you see the cost per purchase go up, once you see the CPM, the CPR, the cost per acquisition, and the click-through rate, and the cost per click, and the CPM, so many C's, then what we'll do is don't actually change the audience. Keep the audience. Change the offer. Let's say I have a new pair of shoes and I'm going around the room. Now I might get some new bites. Even though the people have already seen me, they don't care about me. They care about my shoes, right? They don't, if I'm there twice, who cares? And so if we want, we can change the offer. Hey, instead of buy one, get one free, I have these 2 items. You can get a new buy 2, get 1 free, right? Or whatever the case may be. Hey, you can get anything from this collection for 30% off. It's a different offer. And so it makes sense. It works, right? And so that's when we focus on retargeting. That's kind of how we want to put it together. We want to run it for about a week. And we really want to make sure that we get in front of people who are enjoying our stuff and who are taking action. We only want to do custom audiences and typically only add to cart with retargeting. Eventually we can test some Instagram audiences. We never really want to do purchases because they've already bought. Now, if we have something that's an upsell or something that's brand new that we think, hey, customers are going to love this because it's special, then it's fine. You can test purchase custom audiences and Instagram custom audiences, but typically it's not fully necessary. Add to cart is the one that usually performs the best. Now, the last thing is scaling ads. So how do we know when to scale? How should we scale? And what's the job there? Now, the most important thing with scaling is we want to make sure that we're doing it, if we're scaling aggressively, really every 3 to 4 days, and we want to only go up by about 20%. So if we're spending $50 a day and an ad is doing well, going up to $150 a day is not a good idea. Why? Because it's going to tell Meta, hey, we are resetting this ad, and all that data is going to be shoved aside. We don't want to do that. We want to allow Facebook to grow with us gradually. So going up 20% at a time, 15% at a time is pretty safe, and doing it every 3 to 4 days is also pretty safe as well. So we want to make sure that we're sticking to those barometers and those timelines. If we break them, not good. Now, you'll often see learning limited or creative limited or something along those lines. That's okay as long as your numbers, the CPM, the CTR, and the CPC are intact. You're good. And as long as your cost per purchase is still safe, you don't need to worry about that. The only time you need to worry about that is after, maybe 90, maybe 60 days, maybe 90 days, typically between those. And if the ad is really getting stale, then it's going to be time to switch it out. Typically, when running retargeting ads, we want to run them, like I said, for about a week. And usually, $10-15 a day. It should be a new campaign. It should be a separate campaign, but it doesn't need to be anything that's, so extreme. So that is essentially how to connect the Pixel to Shopify, which I'm actually going to show you one more version right now. But that's kind of how to read the data, the KPIs, how to measure them, retargeting and scaling. And I'm about to show you guys how to connect the Pixel another way. So essentially, this is what we're going to do. This is an example of a brand that obviously already has it connected. But what you're going to do is you're going to come to the ad set level. It's going to say like create new pixel. Click this. Type this in. Click create. Okay. And then what you're going to do is you're going to just follow the steps. It's going to say connect on Shopify. So what are you going to do? You're going to go to Shopify, go to the Facebook and Instagram app, right? And if you don't have the app, download it on the store. What you're going to do is in share data, this is all going to be set for you. You're going to do maximum, and then you're going to go to, it's going to say connect. You're going to connect it and make sure that these match up, right? You see 98042 and 98402, right? And it's check, right? So that's how you're going to connect it. If you don't want to do the coding version, you can't. Again, if you have issues connecting your Pixel, contact us. We have a team that can pretty much guaranteed to put it together for you. If you have trouble with it, it's relatively straightforward. You should be able to do it, but sometimes Facebook or Meta does give us issues and problems, so don't hesitate to ask. But essentially, that's how to do it. That's how to get it done. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask. That is Facebook Ads Part 2. Thanks for watching, and excited for you to watch the next section.